The silver dropship descended through the orange clouds of planet DX-435, carrying 5 of the Galactic Defense Force's most elite Marines. Their mission was simple: make first contact with the newly discovered human outpost and assess the threat level of these mysterious Deathworlders. Captain Stone adjusted his environment suit and looked at his team. They were the best of the best, chosen specifically for this mission. Their chrome-plated armor gleamed under the ship's lights, each piece worth more than a small space cruiser. Doc Blue sat checking his medical scanner for the 100th time, while Tech Smith calibrated his universal translator. "Remember," Stone said, his translator converting his clicks and whistles into standard galactic basic. "These humans are classified as extreme environmental survivors. But they're peaceful. We go in friendly. We assess. We leave." The ship landed near a small outpost built into the side of a rust-colored cliff. The structure looked crude to their advanced eyes. All metal and concrete, nothing like the smooth bioorganic buildings they were used to. A single figure stood waiting outside, surprisingly without any environmental protection despite the planet's harsh atmosphere. Jack, the human scout, watched the aliens approach. He'd been briefed about first contact protocols, but nobody had mentioned the GDF would send their Marines. He stood relaxed, hands visible, wearing standard frontier gear, reinforced work clothes, boots, and a simple rebreather hanging unused around his neck. The aliens moved with perfect military precision, their steps light despite the heavy armor. Jack noticed they seemed surprised by how casually he handled the planet's high gravity and toxic atmosphere. Most species needed full environmental suits here. "Welcome to Outpost 47, Jack said, nodding to the group. "You're a bit early. We expected first contact next month." The alien's translator hummed, and Captain Stone stepped forward. "We accelerated our schedule after detecting unusual energy signatures in this sector. Your presence here is unexpected." Jack smiled. The alien's body language showed clear signs of tension, despite their professional demeanor. He'd seen it before. Most species got nervous around humans once they learned about Earth's classification as a death world. "Would you like to come inside?" Jack gestured toward the airlock. "We can talk more comfortably there. Though I should warn you, we keep our atmosphere Earth standard. Might feel a bit heavy for you folks." The Marines followed Jack inside, their sensors constantly scanning. The airlock cycled, and they entered the outpost's main room. The aliens immediately noticed their movement becoming slightly labored. Earth standard gravity was higher than most civilized worlds. "Fascinating," Doc Blue muttered, checking his readings. "The human shows no stress responses to these conditions, and look at the muscle density readings." Jack started to reply when his security system flashed a silent warning. Multiple ships were approaching fast, running dark. Pirates. They'd been tracking the GDF vessel, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. "We've got company," Jack said, his casual demeanor shifting instantly to alert readiness. "Hostile ships, coming in from the far side of the mountain range. Pirates, probably after your fancy ship." Captain Stone's team immediately formed a defensive formation, but they were surprised by Jack's rapid shift from friendly guide to combat-ready warrior. The human's pupils had dilated, his breathing had changed, and his entire muscular structure seemed to have tensed in a way their sensors had trouble analyzing. "How many?" Stone asked, checking his weapon. 3 ships, probably 20 fighters total. Mixed species group, based on the engine signatures. Jack moved to a weapon locker and pulled out what looked to the aliens like primitive ballistic weapons. "They like to use the canyon for cover. If we're lucky, we can bottleneck them." The first explosion rocked the outpost before Stone could respond. The pirates had launched their attack, expecting to find a surprised and disorganized group of victims. Instead, they were about to learn why humans had earned their reputation as Deathworlders. As alarms blared and the outpost's defenses activated, Jack checked his rifle with practiced ease. The alien Marines watched with growing interest as the humans' stress responses indicated not fear, but what their sensors identified as excitement. They were about to witness firsthand why the galaxy's criminals had learned to avoid human-controlled space, and why the terms human and impossible to kill often appeared in the same sentence. The pirate ships roared overhead as Jack led the alien Marines through the outpost's emergency tunnel. The narrow passage had been carved directly into the cliff face, barely wide enough for two to walk side by side. Captain Stone's team moved carefully in their bulky armor, while Jack navigated the darkness with practiced ease. "The canyon opens up ahead," Jack whispered, his voice oddly calm despite the situation. "They'll try to trap us there. It's what I would do." He paused, listening to the sounds of boots on rock above. The pirates were already positioning their forces. Doc Blue's medical scanner kept focusing on Jack, confused by the human's vital signs. While the alien Marine's body showed typical combat stress responses, the human's readings made no sense. His heart rate was elevated, but in a way that suggested excitement rather than fear. His muscle tension indicated readiness rather than panic. A bolt of plasma streaked through the air, forcing them to take cover behind massive boulders. The canyon walls rose high on both sides, their reddish stone reflecting the planet's dim orange sunlight. Perfect ambush territory. "These rocks," Tex Smith said, scanning the environment. "The mineral content interferes with our targeting systems. We're fighting blind." Jack grinned, checking his rifle. "Good thing I don't need a targeting system." He pointed up at barely visible ledges along the canyon walls. "They'll have shooters up there. Standard pirate tactic. Pin us down, then send in ground forces to finish the job." The alien Marines watched in fascination as Jack seemed to grow more focused, more alive with each passing moment. Their species viewed combat as a necessary evil, something to be endured. The human appeared to be in his element. "This gravity's killing us," one of the Marines muttered, his movements sluggish in the Earth-standard conditions. "How are you even standing?" "This," Jack chuckled. "This is nothing. You should try running from a sandstorm on New Mars. Now that's tough." He peeked around the boulder, ducking back as more plasma fire scorched the rock. "Got 6 up top, maybe 10 coming through the canyon. Basic pincer movement." Captain Stone watched the human closely. Their briefings had mentioned that humans evolved as pursuit predators, but seeing it in action was different. Jack showed none of the fear response common to most species. Instead, he displayed what their xenobiologists called predatory focus. The first wave of pirates charged into the canyon, expecting easy prey. Jack's rifle cracked 3 times, the sound echoing off the walls. 3 pirates fell. The alien Marines added their own fire, more advanced, but less accurate in the mineral-rich environment. "They're not used to targets that shoot back," Jack explained, reloading with fluid motions. "Pirates prefer soft targets. Give them a real fight, and half of them will run." As if to prove his point, several pirates retreated after their first casualties. But others pressed forward, driven by greed and the promise of valuable GDF technology. A plasma bolt struck near Jack's position, superheating the rock and filling the air with burning fragments. The alien Marines expected the human to fall back from the burning spray of rock chips. Instead, Jack rolled to a new position, ignoring the small burns on his exposed skin. Their sensors registered the damage, but the human's pain response seemed muted, almost irrelevant. "Is this normal for your species?" Doc Blue asked, genuinely curious despite the battle raging around them. "This ability to ignore injury. Humans are built to take damage and keep moving," Jack replied, picking off another pirate who had exposed himself too long. "Our bodies are really good at deciding which pain matters and which can wait." Captain Stone's tactical display showed more pirates moving into position above them. They were being surrounded, pushed deeper into the canyon. Any other species would be showing signs of panic by now. But Jack's expression had shifted from excitement to something else, a cold, calculating look that made even the veteran alien Marines uneasy. The human wasn't acting like prey being trapped. He moved like a predator, letting his enemies think they had the advantage. "They're about to learn something important," Jack said, checking his ammunition and flashing a grim smile. About why humans are classified as Deathworlders. He pointed to a narrow crack in the canyon wall. That leads to higher ground. They think they're trapping us. But we're about to change their plans. The alien Marines followed Jack's lead, beginning to understand why human space was considered so dangerous. It wasn't their weapons or their technology that made humans feared. It was their ability to turn any situation to their advantage, to keep fighting when any sensible species would surrender. The narrow crack in the canyon wall opened into a series of rough ledges. Jack moved across them with natural grace, while the alien Marines struggled to maintain their balance in their heavy armor. The orange sky had grown darker, making the pirates' plasma weapons glow brighter against the shadows. Almost there, Jack whispered, leading them to a wider platform. Below, they could see the pirates spreading out, searching the canyon floor with growing frustration. They haven't spotted us yet. Perfect. Captain Stone watched the humans' movements with growing respect. Despite the toxic atmosphere, harsh gravity, and dangerous terrain, Jack showed no signs of fatigue. The rest of them, even in their advanced environmental suits, were feeling the strain. "Your species," Doc Blue said quietly, still monitoring Jack's vital signs. "You actually enjoy this, don't you?" Jack checked his rifle's ammunition before answering. "Not the fighting exactly, but the challenge, the problem-solving. Yeah, that's in our blood. Earth threw everything it had at us for millions of years. We learned to love beating the odds." A pirate captain emerged from one of their ships below, his voice booming through an amplifier. "We know you're here somewhere. Surrender the GDF tech, and we might let you live." "They're getting desperate," Jack said, setting up his position. "That's when they get sloppy. Watch the left side. They always forget to cover their flanks when they're frustrated." True to Jack's prediction, several pirates moved away from their cover, trying to get a better view up the canyon walls. The human's rifle cracked twice, and 2 pirates fell. The others scattered in panic, firing wildly into the air. But one of them got lucky. A plasma bolt streaked through the darkness, aimed at nothing but finding its target anyway. Jack saw it coming but couldn't move fast enough while providing covering fire for the Marines. The bolt struck him directly in the chest, burning through his clothes and flesh in an instant. The alien Marines watched in horror as the plasma charge did its work. They had seen this weapon's effects before. No known species survived a direct hit. The superheated plasma literally cooked internal organs, causing instant death. Jack fell backward, a smoking hole in his chest. Doc Blue rushed forward, medical scanner already whirring, but Captain Stone held him back. "He's gone," Stone said sadly. "No one survives a plasma core hit." Then Jack coughed. The aliens froze, their sensors struggling to process what they were seeing. The human's eyes opened, and he grabbed a small canister from his belt. With shaking hands, he sprayed some kind of foam into the wound, gritting his teeth against what must have been unimaginable pain. "Dame," Jack wheezed, his voice rough but somehow still functioning. "That's going to leave a mark." He tried to sit up, causing the aliens to rush forward in alarm. "Impossible," Doc Blue whispered, his medical scanner going haywire. "Your heart should have stopped. Your lungs should be cooked. You shouldn't be able to move, let alone speak." Jack managed a pained grin. "Emergency medical foam. Seals the wound, keeps the organs in place. Hurts like hell, but it'll keep me going until we finish this." He grabbed his rifle with one hand, using the other to steady himself against the rock wall. "You can't fight in this condition," Captain Stone protested. "The damage to your system." "Watch me," Jack interrupted, already checking his firing position. "Humans don't go down easy. Our bodies are built to keep fighting even after taking fatal damage. Something about our primitive ancestors having to kill their prey even after being gored or clawed." The pirates below were regrouping, emboldened by their apparent hit. They didn't realize that instead of killing their target, they had just made a very serious mistake. They had wounded a human, and there was nothing more dangerous in the galaxy than a wounded human who wasn't quite dead yet. "You're insane," one of the Marines whispered, watching Jack prepare to continue fighting. "This is beyond any survival instinct we've ever encountered." "No," Jack said, his voice stronger as his body adjusted to the damage. "This is what humans do. We survive. We adapt. And we definitely don't stop fighting just because someone shoots a hole in us." He chambered around in his rifle, the sound echoing off the canyon walls. "Now let's show these pirates why they should have studied their xenobiology better." Doc Blue's medical scanner kept beeping warnings as Jack moved along the ledge, each step leaving a small trace of blood despite the medical foam. The alien Marines watched in a mixture of horror and fascination as the human's body somehow kept functioning, defying everything they knew about mortal wounds. "Your blood pressure should be 0, Doc Blue muttered, watching his readings. "Your left lung is barely working. You have severe tissue damage around your heart. How are you even conscious?" "Emergency systems," Jack explained between careful breaths. "Human bodies have backups for almost everything. We can run on one lung, part of a liver, one kidney. Lost some fingers once. Didn't slow me down much." He checked his rifle's scope, tracking the pirates below. "Besides, pain is just information. Right now, that information isn't useful." The pirates had split into smaller groups, their confidence shaken by the continued resistance. They had expected their plasma bolt to end the fight. Instead, they were facing an opponent who seemed to ignore what should have been a killing blow. "Look at their formation," Jack whispered, pointing to the pirates' disorganized movements. "They're scared now. Nothing frightens criminals more than something they can't kill." Captain Stone studied the human with new understanding. His species valued precision and efficiency in combat, always seeking the cleanest victory. But humans, it seemed, had evolved a different approach. They simply refused to stop fighting until they physically couldn't move anymore. A burst of plasma fire forced them to duck behind a rocky outcrop. Jack's wound leaked around the edges of the medical foam, but his hands remained steady on his weapon. He popped out of cover and fired 3 quick shots. 3 more pirates fell. "Demon," one of the pirates screamed in Galactic Basic. "It's one of those Deathworlders. The plasma went right through it, and it's still fighting." The alien Marines watched the pirates' morale crumble. Some began retreating to their ships, while others fired wildly in panic. Jack's reputation as an unkillable monster was spreading through their ranks, growing with each telling. "Your species," Tech Smith said, adjusting his weapon. "You evolved this ability to keep fighting while injured. Was your homeworld really so dangerous?" Jack managed a pained laugh. Earth tried to kill us every day. Predators, diseases, natural disasters. We survived it all. Learned to keep going no matter what." He fired again, taking down a pirate who had tried to reach their fallen comrades. "That's why humans make such good scouts. We're really hard to stop." Doc Blue's scanner started beeping more urgently. "Your core temperature is rising. The tissue damage is spreading. You need immediate medical attention." "Later," Jack said, his voice tight but determined. "First we deal with the pirates. Can't let them leave to tell others this outpost is an easy target." He checked his ammunition, movements slightly slower but still precise. "Besides, the pain tells me I'm still alive. And if I'm alive, I can fight." The pirates' leader emerged again, but this time his voice shook with fear. "What are you?" "We hit you with enough plasma to kill a battle tank." "I'm human," Jack called back, his voice carrying across the canyon. "And you really should have checked what that means before attacking my outpost." The effect was immediate. Several more pirates broke ranks and ran for their ships. Those who remained looked up at the ledges with growing terror, imagining demons and monsters in every shadow. Their sensors told them they were fighting just 1 wounded human and 5 alien Marines, but their fears painted a different picture. "Fascinating," Doc Blue muttered, recording everything for later analysis. "Your species uses psychological warfare without even trying. Your very ability to survive becomes a weapon against your enemy's morale." Jack nodded, scanning for new targets. Humans learned early that sometimes surviving is the best way to win. Every time you get up after being knocked down, your enemy loses a little more hope. He pressed a hand against his wound, checking that the foam seal was holding. And right now, those pirates are learning a lesson about hope that they won't soon forget. The orange sun had started to set, casting long shadows across the canyon. Jack and the alien Marines had moved to a more defensible position, using the growing darkness to their advantage. The remaining pirates huddled behind their ship's shields, too scared to advance, but too greedy to fully retreat. "I don't understand," Doc Blue said, watching his medical scanner's readings with growing confusion. "Your body is actually adapting to the wound. The remaining lung has increased its capacity. Your heart has adjusted its rhythm. How is this possible?" Jack leaned against the rock wall, conserving his strength. The medical foam had turned an ugly black color where it sealed his chest wound, but he remained alert and focused. Humans evolved to survive almost anything. Our bodies can change and adapt even during a fight. Captain Stone listened with interest, while keeping his weapon trained on the pirates below. "Tell us more about your evolution. We need to understand what we're seeing." "Earth was a harsh teacher," Jack explained, checking his rifle's remaining ammunition. "Most species evolved to fill a specific role in their environment. But humans, we evolved to adapt to anything." He gestured to his wound. "When we're injured, our bodies don't just fight the damage. They find ways to work around it." A burst of plasma fire interrupted them, but it was poorly aimed. The pirates were shooting more from fear than any real strategy now. Jack returned fire with 2 precise shots, forcing them back into cover. "On my world," Tech Smith said, "species evolved to avoid injury. Combat is a last resort. But you humans seem built for it." Jack nodded. "We were persistence hunters. We didn't have to be the strongest or fastest. We just had to keep going until our prey couldn't run anymore. That meant evolving bodies that could take damage and keep moving." Doc Blue's scanner beeped again. "Your adrenaline levels should be dropping by now. Any other species would be in shock. But you're maintaining combat effectiveness. It defies everything we know about biology." "That's because we're not just survivors," Jack said, his voice steady despite the pain. "We're hunters who learn to fight through anything. Pain, injury, exhaustion, they're all just obstacles to overcome." He pointed to the pirate's ship. "Like those pirates, they think they're wearing us down, but they don't understand. Humans get more dangerous when we're hurt." An explosion rocked their position as the pirates tried to blast them out. Jack moved with surprising speed, pulling one of the Marines to safety before the rocks could fall on him. The action reopened part of his wound, but he barely seemed to notice. "Impossible," the Marine whispered, staring at the human who had just saved him. "Your injury, you shouldn't be able to move like that." "Humans have something called an endorphin response," Jack explained, spraying more medical foam on his wound. "When we're injured, our bodies release chemicals that help us ignore the pain. It's like having a built-in combat drug. The worse things get, the harder we can push ourselves." Captain Stone watched the human with new respect. "Your entire species is like this. You all have this ability." "More or less," Jack replied, checking the pirate positions through his scope. "Some are better at it than others. But every human has the potential to surprise you when things get rough. We can break bones and keep running, lose blood and keep fighting. It's not about being tough. It's about being unstoppable." The alien Marines shared looks of understanding. Their training had taught them about various species and their combat capabilities, but nothing had prepared them for this. Humans weren't just another spacefaring race. They were the product of millions of years of evolution on a world that had tried its best to kill them. "The pirates don't stand a chance, do they?" Doc Blue asked, his medical curiosity now mixed with admiration. "Even with your injury?" "Especially with the injury," Jack said, a grim smile crossing his face. "They made a big mistake. They thought they could stop a human by nearly killing him. But that's the thing about humans. We're our most dangerous when you think we're beaten. Now, let's show them what a wounded human can really do. The pirate leader gathered his remaining forces for one final assault. Their scans showed the humans' life signs were erratic, convincing them their enemy must finally be weakening. They didn't understand that their scanners were designed for normal species, not for humans who could function with critical injuries. "They're coming," Jack whispered, his breath ragged but his hand steady on his weapon. "All of them this time. They think I'm dying." He looked at Captain Stone with a glint in his eyes. "Let's use that." The alien Marines watched as Jack deliberately staggered into partial view, making himself look more wounded than he actually was. His acting was convincing. Even Doc Blue's scanner showed dangerous fluctuations in his vital signs. "Now they'll get careless," Jack explained, sliding back into cover. "Pirates aren't soldiers. Show them weakness, and they'll rush in without thinking." True to his prediction, the pirates abandoned their careful approach. They charged forward in a group, their weapons blazing with plasma fire, expecting to find an easy target. Instead, they ran straight into a carefully planned crossfire. Jack's rifle cracked again and again, each shot finding its mark despite his injury. The alien Marines, now understanding the human strategy, added their own fire from hidden positions. Pirates fell one after another, their charge turning into chaos. Demon, monster. The pirates screamed, their formation breaking apart, but they had committed too many forces to retreat easily. They were caught in the open, exactly as Jack had planned. "Your species," Captain Stone said, firing precise shots at the trapped pirates. "You don't just endure pain. You use it as a weapon." Jack nodded, rolling to a new position despite the protest from his wounded chest. "Deception is also a human trait. We learned it hunting animals bigger and stronger than us. Make them think you're weak, then strike when they let their guard down." The pirate leader, desperate to salvage the situation, ordered his remaining forces to split up. Half of them tried to flank the defender's position while the others provided covering fire. It was a solid tactical move against normal opponents. But Jack wasn't a normal opponent. Despite his grave injury, he moved faster than the pirates expected, appearing at unexpected angles, taking shots that should have been impossible for someone so badly wounded. Each time the pirates thought they had him cornered, he would appear somewhere else, turning their own tactics against them. "I've never seen anything like this," Tex Smith said, watching Jack operate. "You're using their assumptions about injury and death against them. It's not just physical ability. It's psychological warfare." "Humans learned early," Jack replied, pausing to reload his rifle. "That surviving when you should be dead scares enemies more than any weapon." He fired again, taking down a pirate who had tried to reach their ship. Fear is a powerful tool. The remaining pirates began to break. Seeing their companions fall to what they now believed was an immortal demon had shattered their courage. They ran for their ships, all thoughts of profit forgotten in their panic. "Should we let them escape?" one of the Marines asked, watching the retreat. "No," Jack said, his voice cold. "They need to learn why attacking human outposts is a fatal mistake." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small device. "Remember those energy signatures your ship detected? That wasn't just the outpost." Jack pressed a button, and hidden charges around the canyon exploded. Not big enough to kill, but perfectly placed to disable the pirates' ships. The aliens stared at him in surprise. "You planned this?" Captain Stone asked, watching the pirates realize they were trapped. "Always have a backup plan," Jack said, standing up despite his wound. "Humans don't just survive by being tough. We survive by being smarter than whatever's trying to kill us." He checked his rifle one last time. "Now let's finish this. I need to get this hole in my chest," looked at eventually. The alien Marines moved into position, now following Jack's lead without question. They had come to study a Deathworlder, but they were learning something far more valuable: why humans had earned their reputation as the galaxy's most formidable survivors. 3 hours later, the orange sun rose over a changed canyon. The Galactic Defense Force's reinforcement ships descended from orbit, their lights illuminating the aftermath of the battle. Medical teams rushed to treat the wounded pirates who had surrendered, while security forces secured the disabled pirate ships. Jack sat on a medical bed in the GDF ship's infirmary, finally allowing doctors to properly treat his chest wound. The hole from the plasma bolt had burned through muscle and bone, yet somehow hadn't killed him. The alien medical staff kept taking scans, amazed by how his body had already started healing. "Remarkable," the chief medical officer said, examining the readings. "Your tissue is already showing signs of regeneration. Any other species would have died instantly from this wound." Doc Blue stood nearby, still recording everything for his report. "We need to completely revise our understanding of human medical capabilities. They don't just survive. They adapt and heal even during combat." Captain Stone entered the infirmary, his armor now cleaned of battle damage. The rest of his Marine unit followed, their posture showing newfound respect for the wounded human scout. "The pirates have been secured," Stone reported. "They're still babbling about fighting an unkillable demon. Your reputation is going to spread through the criminal networks. This sector will be much safer now." Jack shrugged, then winced as the movement pulled at his wound. That's part of why humans make good frontier scouts. Once word gets around about what we can survive, most trouble stays away. The medical officer applied a regeneration pad to Jack's chest. "You should rest for at least a week. The damage was severe, even for a human." "I'll rest tomorrow," Jack said, already trying to sit up straighter. "Need to check the outpost's defenses first. Those pirates might have friends." Tex Smith shook his head in amazement. "Even now, you're planning for the next fight. Does your species ever stop?" "Not really," Jack admitted with a small smile. "Humans don't have an off switch. We just keep going until the job's done. It's what we're built for." Captain Stone pulled out an official-looking document on his datapad. "I've submitted my report to GDF Command. I'm recommending an immediate revision of human threat classifications, not because you're dangerous, but because we completely misunderstood what makes humans unique." "Oh," Jack raised an eyebrow. "And what's that?" "Other species evolved to avoid death," Stone explained. "But humans evolved to push past it. You don't just survive. You thrive in conditions that should kill you. That's not a threat. That's an asset we need to understand better." The medical officer finished applying healing compounds to Jack's wound. "Your recovery time will be remarkably fast. Human healing capabilities are extraordinary. Would you be willing to let us study your recovery process?" "As long as it doesn't interfere with my duties," Jack agreed. "The frontier still needs patrolling, hole in my chest or not." Doc Blue stepped forward, his medical scanner still humming. "I'm also recommending that the GDF establish a joint training program with human scouts. Our Marines need to learn how you think, how you adapt. It could save lives." Jack looked at the alien Marines, remembering how they had fought together just hours ago. "Training together would be good. There's a lot we could learn from each other. You've got the technology and tactics. We've got the stubborn refusal to die." "Speaking of learning," Captain Stone said, "those pirates we captured, they're asking how to avoid human space in the future. Your reputation for being unkillable is already spreading." "Good," Jack said, carefully standing up despite the medical officer's protests. "That's the best kind of defense, when your enemies convince themselves to stay away." He looked out the infirmary window at the rising sun. "Though I have to admit, getting shot through the chest wasn't exactly part of today's plan." The alien Marines laughed, a sound of genuine respect and understanding. They had come to study what they thought was a dangerous species, but they had found something far more valuable. Allies who could teach them new ways to survive, to adapt, to overcome. As Jack insisted on walking to check on his outpost, ignoring all medical advice to rest, the aliens finally understood why humans were the galaxy's ultimate survivors. It wasn't just their physical endurance or their ability to ignore pain. It was their unshakable determination to keep going, to protect what was theirs, to face any challenge with a mix of cleverness and raw stubbornness that no other species could match.